Wow, hear ye. Welcome to the Depth Perception podcast. We actually have a very special guest on our podcast today, Dr. Kambiz Silani. Hi, Dr. Silani.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for taking the time.
Welcome to the pod.
Welcome.
We wanted to start with just hearing about you, telling us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we'll just get into it.
Yeah, definitely. So, SoCal native, grew up in Beverly Hills, went to UCLA, Western University, class of 2013. Started my practice cold, even though my family's been in the eye care field for over 60 years. They've been more on the optical side, eyewear side, and I took over on the medical side. Since they were in charge of the eyewear side or the optical side, I really wanted to delve into the medical optometry component as far as services and whatnot, and quickly delved into the dry eye space. So we spent the last 10 years really honing in and helping dry eye patients both locally in our community as well as from out of town, out of state, and internationally.
That's awesome. You were the first class of Western, correct?
Yeah, founding class member. Really just amazing to go off that dream. And here we are 10 years later. I was so impressed with the program that one of my colleagues and I started a scholarship program for third-year students who exemplified excellent clinical skills. So we continue to keep that scholarship going strong.
That's amazing.
You also, are you a rotation site for Western right now or no?
We were temporarily for a little while, and then we kind of pulled back, but we might be again. My philosophy is patient education and empowerment, and also colleague education and empowerment. And we certainly encourage ODs and MDs to come shadow us for a day or for a week or longer just to check out our protocols.
Definitely. I mean, you have such a unique practice. I think it's great to kind of have that as a rotation as well, just so we can all experience that kind of thing, because it is a newer branch of optometry for the most part. I want to talk about like how you got into specifically dry eye, right? Your practice is more dry eye based, and it's in Beverly Hills, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're in the heart of Beverly Hills, adjacent to Hollywood, so we see a lot of fun folks on camera and actors, actresses, musicians, not. So that's been exciting. But my journey really started selfishly to help myself. I've had dry eye for 20 years, and the first 10 years was just with over-the-counter things, and Restasis was the only drug approved at the time, and so I was on steroid drops, Restasis, here and there, not super consistent. And then most recently, in the last decade, we have the advent of all these wonderful technologies from a diagnostic side and the therapeutic side. I was the first patient for BlephX in our practice.
Wow.
In fact, I had it done at a conference about 12 years ago by the founder, Dr. Reinerson, and it really changed my life. It led me down the path of looking at our literature and what other tools there were out there, and slowly brought in LipiFlow and iLux. IPL has been 6 years now, and most recently we brought in low-level light and radio frequency. So through the advent of these newer modern devices, I've been able to pull away from a lot of the pharmaceutical.
Do you see regular patients, or do you get like these specialty patients like sent to your office specifically?
So in the beginning, as we were building the practice, the dry practice, I was managing primary eye care patients, comprehensive contact lens visits, glaucoma patients, diabetics, macular degeneration, etc. Since it was also slower, I was shadowing at a retina clinic for a half day, once or twice a week, just to really feel that much more comfortable with the posterior segment of the eye. But quickly realized that the ocular surface was something that I was really fond of, and really doubled down on that aspect. And it's been exciting. We've been able to build out a niche. I think everyone's doing dry eye, but when I talk to people, like, no, you're probably in the top 1% of the nation to be able to offer so many treatment options and modalities. And that number definitely changes. When I used to lecture or speak to a group of doctors in a room, maybe of 20, there were 2 doctors that were either familiar with some of these office-based treatments and carried those treatments in the office. Whereas when I spoke just a few weeks ago, half the room had some sort of device, either one or more devices to be able to manage these dry eye patients.
Yeah. Why do you think it's like exploded so much over the last couple of years? Do you just think that we just have these things readily available to us now versus like in the past where it wasn't prioritized? Or
I think the education is there. That's a big part. A lot of the companies are marketing to patients, and patients are coming in asking for technologies. And if they don't have it, they're referring to an office like ourselves. And sometimes other ODs and MDs are referring to us just to kind of see if the technology actually works. We send those patients back, we send reports back as far as signs and symptoms improving, and then they go, okay, maybe we'll bring in the technology, or we'll continue to refer to an advanced dry eye center that we trust. And we keep those relationships really sacred, where if a primary eye care doctor refers to us, we only see those patients for dry eye and send them back. And to answer your earlier question, yeah, the last 4 years have been dry eye patients only, from consults, treatments, and follow-ups. As far as the patients I see, my colleagues that we brought in through the practice continue to see all patients from primary eye care to dry eye.
And how did you get to like be known as this dry eye guru? You know what I mean? Like, how did they know to send to you? Like, do you have special marketing techniques, or are you just going out into the community? Like, how does somebody who, let's say, wants to start like a dry eye practice or is interested in dry eye end up like honing their practice in and getting these patients to come to them?
So if you already have a primary eye care practice, those dry eye patients are in your practice. If once you start to build a reputation that you do have these devices, patients become raving fans, they go talk to their primary care physician, their rheumatologist, their endocrinologist, their oculoplastic surgeon. So these are all referrals to our practice. Pre-COVID and even during COVID, we've had a group of physicians that I'm a part of that are in. So we have one eye doctor, one dentist, one plastic surgeon, podiatrist, et cetera, and we used to meet once a month at least. And now we just have a WhatsApp group during COVID. We've helped to power each other through that difficult time, and even through even though we're kind of beyond the deepest parts of COVID, we still collaborate and talk about what's working, best practices, right? As far as marketing is concerned. I think social media is a huge platform to utilize. I mean, what you guys are doing here on a podcast is absolutely incredible. And just letting your colleagues know at trade shows and conferences, and this is what I'm interested in, this is what I'm doing. And if you guys ever want to collaborate, we can. And that's how we all got to coordinate here, right? Was at Vision Expo West in Vegas this past year.
Definitely, yeah. We love conferences. Go ahead.
I just wanted to go backtrack a little bit, because I feel like when you're in optometry school, there's so many different things that you get introduced to. So what's your timeline, or how did it start from, like, were you always ocular surface or interested in dry eye in school? And then how many years did it take out of school to start your practice? And then once you started practicing, you were seeing primary care mainly. How many years doing primary care did you become dry eye guru? Like, what's
great question?
I feel like just from the story, it just happened very quickly. But was there years in time that took this, or how did that happen?
Certainly. So I graduated in 2013 and immediately started the practice the next month in June, really, as soon as I got my license. I was going to Western. I was actually really excited to go into sports vision therapy, or sports medicine, if you will. And Western has a big program in neuro and VT and whatnot. So I was hoping to go down that path. And we simultaneously started primary eye care, kind of the sports vision therapy, dry eye, contact lenses, medical eye care. And I realized that dry eye just took off. It's one of those things that organically did amazingly. And I was helping a lot of patients on the VT side and the other aspects of the practice, but I kept realizing that I love the dry eye side and I love working with technology. And in optometry, growing up in this field, going to Vision Expo since I was maybe 3 or 4, seeing all the technology on the diagnostic side was really exciting to me. And here we are in 2013, the technology starts to come out on the therapeutic side. And we see that today with every subspecialty of optometry, and whether you want to go into myopia control, specialty contact lenses, dry eye, of course, vision therapy, things continue to evolve. We got to see this whole idea of neural lens, right, for primary eye care has been really interesting. For the dry eye side, there's 14 different office-based treatments that we offer at this moment, and most of those are actually device-based. And it's my addiction to technology and wanting to continue to evolve and enjoy the puzzle. At a certain point, primary eye care became too easy for me. I felt like the way we built our primary eye care practice was I would talk to colleagues at conferences and locally in the area and say, send me your most difficult primary eye care patient, the ones that you guys want to fire or get rid of, send them to me. And so I got to early on deal with a lot of challenging cases, and I realized, okay, I got that under control. What else can I do? And dry eye became one of those really exciting moments. So to answer your question, the first 6 years was a little bit of everything, and the last 4 years was has been just strictly dry eye, and it's extremely exciting. I don't get to spend 30 minutes with every patient and see 20 patients, 15, 20 patients a day, but I really get to dive deep into these patients' lives. So as optometry, we like building relationships with our patients and seeing them every year, but with dry eye patients, I get to see them once a month, once a quarter. It's really fun, and you're really changing these patients' lives for the better as far as not only improving their quality of vision, but their quality of life. Some of these folks are defeated both mentally and physically. They stop working, they stop driving, they go into depression, anxiety, they have suicidal ideations. They're really defeated, and they've seen 3 to 5 doctors on average before they get to a clinic like ours that actually meets or exceeds their expectations. And they're shocked that I get to spend an hour to an hour and a half with them at their first visit. And typically they get shorter from there, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour for future visits. But I'm not just performing a treatment and saying, okay, I'll see you later. At each visit, when we're performing treatments, I'm checking in with them, and we're pivoting or evolving their treatment protocol based off of the feedback they share with me.
Doc, I do want to just ask you a question. Since you mentioned sports vision, that's actually a niche that I'm like very interested in. So I know you kind of didn't like keep going with that. Obviously, you're doing dry eye, but do you have any advice or just like, any tips and tricks about what you were doing with that when you first started?
Just sharing with your patients that whether it's through email campaigns, social media, as they come in through the practice, that you offer these services. And then we got lucky. We even had some athletes that had worked for pro teams that came through, and we got to interact with them and take photos if they're open to it and have them sign off on posting that and sharing that. And that's really the traction can build, is when you can you want to constantly innovate and market yourself.
JD, anything? I know you had a question earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's on my perspective, it's graduating 3 years ago. The question now is, you get comfortable and you want to challenge yourself and fill your cup and find your passion piece, something that you're like excited to do. And so a couple of things that you were saying there that I really liked was like you're filling people's helping them with their quality of life and their quality of sight. And I see some excitement on your part. What else about getting into the dry space like makes it exciting to go about work?
It's really cool. These patients, I mean, we have a 4-month-old at home. A lot of these patients, we're excited. What's your baby registry? Can I send you a gift? Can we see photos of your baby? So they come back on such a regular basis that they're seeing a lot of cool milestones. Even as far back as 7 years ago when we were getting married, can I see photos of the wedding, and can I see photos of your trip? So being able to have a deeper connection with these patients has been really satisfying. It's the whole 80-20 rule. I'm saying maybe 20% of the patients that we did previously, but I'm really enjoying that 80% of the time with them. And the practice has also done really well from a growth standpoint, because I'm able to, if you when you go into a luxury store, you go into a 5-star hotel, you're not just in and out. It's a really deep process where everyone says hi to you and they spend quality time. You go into a luxury store, they give you a water, they ask if you want champagne and things of that sort. Now, we don't offer champagne in our practice, but we have some of those nice those nice touches where you have a great team, you have great technology, you make that visit from the moment we will encourage other optometrists. We'll set it up as a concierge style. We'll give us the patient's information. We'll reach out to them and make that process as streamlined as possible and minimize the stress to getting to an appointment, as far as booking online or giving them the correct steps to get them to enjoying the journey. Sometimes seeing a doctor isn't the most fun, especially if you're already suffering, and we want to make that journey as pleasant as possible from their suffering to optimizing their ocular surface.
That's amazing.
You also have that Instagram wall, right?
What's that?
The Instagram wall.
Yeah, and then of course thank you. The Instagram eye mural wall that we have at the practice is really fun. Whether it's our fun day-to-day patients that we want to take photos. We have some visitors that are not even patients that off the street, because we're on Robertson, which is a well-known street in Beverly Hills. They'll just kind of walk by, and I ask the team, is that one of our patients, because we're on street level? And they go, no, it's just random, random folks that want to take a photo, because it's beautiful, just like the angel wings and whatnot. We had a street artist that we had hired, and he drew up a few mock-ups, and we said we love that idea. The eye mural that we're referring to, the top half has branches, which is almost like dry eye, and the bottom half is a waterfall. It's almost like epiphora, or cheering of eyes.
Wow.
And the center of the pupil is shaped like a heart. So
Oh,
it's really pretty. Yeah, it's a really special piece for us.
So I have a question for somebody that maybe wants to switch to seeing patients in more dry eye setting and spend an hour and a half with their patients. What are the key things they need to start that in their practice? And maybe like not talking about devices, like I'm thinking I'm in low vision right now. So when I'm in low vision and seeing low vision patients, like case history takes up most of it. Is it just like spending a longer case history?
Great
Or is there anything specific you're doing? And then at the same time, what kind of devices do you have at your practice, or what devices do you need to have a successful dry eye practice?
So there's a few ways of looking at it. You can either be a primary eye care office that wants to refer to an advanced dry eye center, right? If you trust that they'll coordinate care and that they'll send patients back. And one of the most important things with us when we share coordination of care with either ophthalmologists, optometrists, or other colleagues is making sure the professionalism is there. We're seeing that patient for what they sent them to us for, and then we send them back, right? We never try to steal a patient. That's so important, where you can lose that trust. When the patient actually comes in to see us, they're filling out a very in-depth online form that goes over their medical history, medication history, symptom survey, what other treatments they've had, because oftentimes they've seen, by the time they get to us, they've had other treatments, whether it's pharmaceutical, over the counter, etc. And so we're here to hone in on what are we missing, or what's been missed. So in that, we also want to determine what other factors are playing a role in their condition, whether it's biologic factors, lifestyle factors, or environmental factors. Once they're in the practice, they're actually going through a series of tests that are being performed, typically by one of our medical assistants. So we're capturing high definition and infrared images. We're performing point of care testing, and we're evaluating the ocular surface in the slit lamp with vital dye staining, such as lissamine green and fluorescein. We're also taking it a step further to check for things like lagophthalmos, incomplete eyelid closure, and oftentimes, if they're advanced enough, we'll check corneal sensitivity. I kind of wish we would check that on every patient, but oftentimes just talking to them, I know where we're headed, and performing some of these tests just confirms that. And I want as much baseline information as possible in order to show them what's going on as far as their findings, come up with the appropriate diagnosis, because sometimes they are actually misdiagnosed with maybe allergies when it should have been Demodex blepharitis or something along those lines. And so we're there to properly identify and rule out conditions such as ocular rosacea, MGD, Demodex blepharitis, lagophthalmos, neurotrophic keratitis, filamentary keratitis, punctate. So there have been a lot of patients who've come to us who are constantly surprised. They thought they went to an advanced dry eye center, and they go, wow, this is the most advanced visit I've ever had, even at their primary eye care visits, just because we want information. Having information, I think, is a good thing. What you measure matters, right? So, and then just empowering them, being able to show them all the images with the Firefly slit lamp, showing them their gland expression, right? If it's toothpaste-like, and that's that pimple popping component. And then from the treatment side, it really gets broken down into a few categories. And a great example is a chalazion, right? You have at-home therapy, you have pharmaceutical options, you have office-based, and you have surgical intervention. And oftentimes when they come to us, whether they find us on their own or they refer to us, our goal is to try to get them to avoid the surgical intervention. And they love that. They go, oh, okay, great. I don't want to have an injection into my eyelid, or I don't want to have this thing cut out. What else can we do? And commonly through at-home therapy in combination with office-based treatments, we're able to get that under control. I tend to stay away from pharmaceuticals if I can, and patients appreciate that. sometimes I'll tell them, here's a sample of Isuvis if you really want it, but these are the side effects. And they go, no, I trust you. Let's stick with the original game plan of trying to target this from an office-based root cause approach. And then we can reserve the pharmaceutical options for emergencies or bad flare-ups where the patient isn't quite responding as we expect, which is a small percentage of the time.
Wow.
That's amazing.
No, it's clear you're clearly passionate about it, and you've tried different things, you found what you like, and then you could see the passion is clear on the screen. How would you say, like, you took that next step to work with companies and get on billboards when you're at conferences? We've all seen your face on the billboards, right? We all want to be there one day. How would you say, how'd you go about having those conversations with like industry partners, being industry leader? Like, how do you go about that?
So two different angles. One, they approach us just because of the presence that we had, whether it's the following or the work that we were doing on social media. Oftentimes I get asked on LinkedIn or Instagram, who did you hire? Who's posting for you? And I say, it's our team, really. It's me and my team thinking about what posts we can share that's organic, authentic. We've had our go with third party marketing companies to help take over, but it's failed time and time again. The engagement that we used to get with those versus the post that we put up, our team puts up, is night and day. On the other hand, just letting industry know that you're interested. If you're really passionate about it and you really enjoy what you're doing, just share with them. Let them know, hey, when you guys are looking for more KOLs or you're interested in bringing on somebody in this part of the country, go for it. With us, it's a little bit easier because of the reputation, the city we're in, so that's leveraged often. We already see a lot of celebrities. We don't talk about it because of HIPAA often, but some have been okay with us sharing photos, and those are on our Instagram and Yelp and website, which is kind of fun. So they'll come to me and say, do you have celebrities that are interested in working with us? And we kind of take it from there. And there have been a lot of celebrities recently. As far as dry eye, we see Jennifer Aniston, Ken Jeong, Jenny Garth, Mandy Moore, and they all have they have become the face of dry eye, which is really cool. It's a real person disease, right? It's not just a old person disease, right? We have our youngest patient is 12. We had a patient last week who was 18, just starting college at UCLA, just around the corner from us. And my oldest patient just turned 93 last month. And we see everyone in between, because living in the 21st century, there are so many contributing factors to dry eye, from hormone fluctuation to medications that we've talked about. Accutane, anything that has anti in front of it can contribute to dryness. So anticholinergic and antidepressant, anti-anxiety, antihistamine. And on top of that, living in certain environments, right? If you live in Vegas or Palm Springs or areas where they're desert-like, low humidity, that can play a role. Sleep position can play a role. Diet, right? If you're eating an unhealthy diet, a lot of caffeine. We've just made small tweaks in patients' lives, such as, let's get you to a functional medicine doctor, check you for heavy metals and hormones and things of that sort. And we're able to just fix those things, and the dry eye can improve, because the eyes are, as we learned, the eyes are are so intimately tied to the rest of the body, from the brain to the cardiovascular system. Patients are surprised to hear that we can see STDs on the surface or in the back of the eye. So being able to collaborate care, and that's why Western was so amazing. And a lot of the newer schools or schools in general are updating their programs for the interprofessional component. That's been a huge. I had an Instagram live earlier today with a functional medicine doctor, and we refer to one another and being able to stay in touch. I've had patients where I've had to speak to their therapist and psychologist, because the patients feel like they're going to go blind because their dry eye can be that debilitating. And so we just have to reassure their team of doctors that we're here to facilitate things, and that patient's not going to go blind under our watch.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Are you thinking about expanding your practice anytime soon, or yeah?
I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Patient Pop, but they're a great company that's kind of like your online presence for a lot of doctors. If they're building up if they're starting their own practice, they're able to build out a website and do your marketing and whatnot. And I'm one of their first 5 doctors to come on board in the nation, and actually an early investor of that company. And
Congrats.
they've asked me, like, hey, we have the data if you want to build another office on where to open. And we just want to have a really great flagship office here in Beverly Hills. And thankfully a lot of patients come to see us. I have been invited to come out to the Middle East and Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and I took up one of our patients had seen a number of doctors. They didn't really figure out what was going on, and we were able to help his wife. And so they invited us to come to Abu Dhabi as their guest for the Formula One, and they got to give us a tour of the Cleveland Clinic there, and it was really a special invite. But I'm a creature of habit, and I like to stay within my little 5-mile radius. Vegas is always lovely to go to. But yeah, I think down the road, I would love to collaborate with other really passionate dry eye specialists and maybe help. We've built a great system, process, and model and protocol with our practice. So maybe coordinate with other doctors from around the country and go from there. But for me to go open other offices myself, maybe not in the next year or so, but potentially.
Definitely amazing.
Definitely in other parts of Southern California is what my wife and I have been thinking about.
Yeah. Perfect. What does your wife do, if I may ask?
She went to law school, and then she was in the corporate world for the longest time, and then I stole her away, and I said I needed her. So she took on the hard role of director of operations at our practice almost 6 years ago, and I call her the heart of the practice, the heart and the brains of the practice, actually.
Yes.
And she puts on a lot of hats. I love going in and seeing patients and doing that, and she really did everything else outside of direct patient care, from training and hiring the staff to patient satisfaction. And it's been hard having her away from maternity leave, but this is a more important job, and we're hoping to have her back hopefully by the end of the year, beginning of the new year.
Yeah. And also, we're really big on diversity in the pod, and you're actually our first Persian guest, which is amazing for me, my fellow Iranian. So thank you for coming on. This is like a very special time for me. I feel emotional because like I love seeing people, I'm gonna cry, in my community like really stepping up and doing these big things. Welcome. Like it just feels like amazing just to see like you're thriving. It feels like I'm thriving kind of thing too.
And that's really the best way to approach it. I surround myself. That's the other thing that we didn't talk about, is just surrounding yourself with good people that are positive, successful, and want to elevate you and are not jealous of that success is really important. Making sure that you continue. I love what you guys are doing, and it excites me. I was telling you guys in person that doing a podcast has been on my to-do list, but it just can't get around to it. There's everything happening, and it keeps getting pushed down. So the next best thing is being a guest on a wonderful podcast like this one, right? The Depth Perception podcast. So just keep sharing what you're passionate about, and surround yourself with good people, and work hard. Luck plays a part in it as well. Timing. If I would have started the practice 20 years ago, the dry practice would not have been as successful as it is now. The last 10 years, I have to devote to timing and luck, because right as I was coming out of graduation, these devices became available. I think LipiFlow just celebrated its 11th or 12th year anniversary as the first FDA approved device for managing dry eye and MGD. And then all these other devices have now come to fruition.
That's awesome. We're so proud of you. We loved having you on. I could talk to you for hours, so I'll have to call you on a separate occasion. If you need another celebrity to come into your practice, I mean, I'm available. So.
Invite is open.
I'll be there. You can put me on call.
Before we let you go, you mentioned earlier about the scholarship that you helped start. Now, just for our student listeners, is that for solely Western? Is that for across the U.S., for third years? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, at the moment, I think giving back is a big part of what we do, and paying it forward. For me, Western had done so much as far as education and training, and my being a founding class member, I feel even more affection, like firstborn almost. That scholarship is for Western students, but there are other things that are in the pipeline as far as sharing not just knowledge, but helping to elevate. There were a few dry eye workshops that I put on, 3 to be specific, live workshops that I put on pre-COVID, and going through some health issues and whatnot. I've had to put that on pause and just focusing more on the practice and family life and my own health. But it brings you a different perspective. Going through a health scare and becoming a father has really changed my perspective on life and purpose. And at the end of the day, our reputation and the legacy, what we leave behind, is most important. So really try to do your best to make a difference, right? Leave this world a better place than before we touched it. And I hope that's what I'm doing, and I hope that's how I'll be remembered. Dr. Art Epstein was sorry, it's gonna make me kind of sad. Was one of my mentors, and he was one of the big dry eye gurus, and one of my mentors. But he passed during COVID, and he was a really special guy, and really impressed with the legacy he left behind. So trying to make him proud from above.
Yeah. We're sorry for your loss, but just know that you have him with you, and the passion that you share with us is a legacy in its own, and definitely you're sharing the love that he gave you for sure.
Amazing. Thank you guys again so much. This has been absolutely incredible, and hopefully there'll be a future interaction down the road.
Definitely, yes. We would love
Definitely.
to.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, guys.